her stone again. Maybe her father forgot her.
Leave me alone!
That's enough. Go away.
I try, but I hear everything.
What do you mean?
Because it is too much. Why does people hate me?
I grew up in a small village where everybody knew your name and your problems. My mother, her name was Esther. She didn't have much, but she had me. She woke up before the sun every single day, not because she wanted to, but because we had to eat. We walked long distances for water, stood in lines that never seemed to end. And even there, people talked. They would laugh sometimes. Where is her husband? Who is the father of that child? I didn't understand everything, but I understood enough. I used to get angry. I wanted to answer them, to shout, to defend her. But my mother would always say, "Leave them, Ada. Not every voice deserves your reply." I didn't like that answer, but she lived by it. She worked in people's houses, washed clothes, carried loads that were too heavy. Sometimes I saw her hands cracked, bleeding, and when I asked her if she was okay, she would smile and say, "It will pass." It didn't always pass. At night, when everything became quiet, I would ask her, "Mama, who is my father?" She never gave me a full answer. She would just say, "He is someone I knew, someone she knew, but someone who was never there." There was one thing she never let go of: a necklace. She held it when she was tired, when she was thinking, when she thought I wasn't looking. I asked her once, "Why do you keep it?" She said, "Because some things don't leave you, even when people do." There were nights we didn't eat. She would tell me to drink water and sleep. I believed her when she said she had eaten, until I heard her stomach in the dark. That was when I understood. She was lying for me. Then she started coughing. At first, it was small. Then it stayed. The elders said it wasn't ordinary. But we didn't have money for hospital, for medicine. So we did what poor people do. We waited. That night, everything became quiet. Too quiet. She called my name. "Ada." I held her hand. It was weak, but warm. She gave me the necklace. I told her I didn't want it. Not like that. She looked at me and said, "If someone comes, don't hit him." I asked her, "Who, Mama?" She didn't answer. By morning, she was gone. No noise. No warning. Just gone. People gathered. Some spoke kindly. Some spoke like they always did. She suffered too much. At least she can rest. I stood there, holding the necklace. Not crying. Just standing. I thought that was the end of my story. No father. No answers. No change. Just me. And the life she left behind. I didn't know then that my story was just beginning. After my mother died, the village didn't change. People still woke up early, still fetched water, still talked. The only thing that changed was me. The house felt different. Not bigger, not smaller, just empty. I would wake up, and for a moment, I would forget she was gone. Then it would come back. Quietly. My grandmother stayed with me. She didn't talk too much, but she was there. And sometimes, that was enough. She would say, "Grief does not leave quickly." I didn't argue with her. Because I was feeling it. Busy and Zainab came to see me. Busy, still loud. Still full of energy. Zainab, calm as always. They didn't try to fix anything. They just stayed. And for the first time, I didn't feel completely alone. I started going to the market again. Not because I wanted to, but because life doesn't stop. Work was hard. The sun was hot. And people were still the same. They still talked. Now she is alone. Who will help her? Some laughed. Some just watched. But I noticed something. Their voices didn't affect me the same way anymore. Maybe I was too tired. Or maybe I was changing. At night, when everything became quiet, I started thinking. Not about what I lost, but about what I didn't have. A future. A direction. Something more than this. That was when my grandmother told me. My mother had a brother. In the city. I didn't know how to feel. Hope. Fear. Maybe both. I thought about it for days. What if he didn't accept me? What if I went there and had nowhere to stay? But then I asked myself, what happens if I don't go? And the answer was simple. Nothing. The day I left, felt quiet. Busy hugged me like she didn't want to let go. Zainab just looked at me and said, be careful. Even Chaik, who didn't talk much, said, if anything goes wrong, come back. I nodded. But inside, I knew something had already changed. The journey to the city felt long. Not just in distance, but in thought. I kept looking at the necklace. The only thing my mother left me. And I kept wondering what kind of life I was going to meet. The city was loud. Too loud. Cars. Voices. Movement everywhere. Nobody looked at me. Nobody asked where I came from. And for the first time, I felt invisible. When I found his house, I almost didn't knock. But I did. He opened the door, looked at me, and said nothing for a moment. I told him my name, told him who my mother was. And something changed in his face. Not happiness. Not anger. Just recognition. He let me in. But not everyone was welcoming. His wife looked at me like I didn't belong there. And maybe I didn't. Not yet. That night, I sat alone in a small room, holding the necklace, talking quietly. Not to anyone in the house, but to my mother. I came. I don't know if this is the right place, but I'm here. I thought coming to the city would change everything. It didn't. Not immediately. But something had started. Something I couldn't see yet. And for the first time, I was no longer standing still. I thought coming to the city would change my life. But the city doesn't change you like that. It watches you first. And waits to see if you can survive it. Every morning started the same. I woke up early. Before anyone called me. Not because I wanted to. But because I needed to belong. In that house. Everything had a rhythm. And I was still learning it. My uncle didn't say much. But his wife. She watched everything. Not in a loud way. Just careful. Like she was still deciding if I should be there. The first time I walked alone in the city, I didn't know where to look. Too many people. Too many voices. And nobody cared I was new. The village sees you. The city doesn't. I tried to find work. Everywhere I went, They asked the same question. Do you have experience? And every time, I said no. And every time, they said, then come back later. At home, things were not always easy. I had conversations that stopped when I entered. Felt silence that wasn't normal. But my uncle, he didn't send me away. And that was enough for me to stay. Then I found the shop. Small, busy, full of fabric and noise. Aisha didn't smile much. But she gave me a chance. And in the city, a chance is everything. I made mistakes. Many. My lines were not straight. My hands were not steady. But I kept going. Because stopping was not an option. At night, I spoke to Busy and Zainab. They were still in the village then. Busy would talk, like she was already in the city. Zainab would listen, like she understood everything. And me, I was in between. Some nights, I held the necklace. The one my mother gave me. I had seen it all my life. But now, it felt different. Heavier. Like it carried something I didn't understand. One evening, I asked my uncle about my father. He answered. But not fully. And I noticed something. He paused before speaking. Like he was choosing what to say. And what not to say. That was when I knew. There were things about my life that I didn't know. Not small things. Important things. I was no longer just surviving. I was learning. Working. Thinking. Becoming something, slowly. The city didn't give me answers. It gave me questions. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid to ask them. Because somewhere in those questions was the truth my mother never told me. I didn't meet him that day. But something about that moment felt like I almost did. And I didn't understand it then. Life in the city had started to feel normal. Not easy, but familiar. I woke up, went to work, came back, and tried not to think too much. Then Busy and Zainab came. Just like that. From the village into my new life. Busy brought noise. Zainab brought calm. And somehow, they made the city feel lighter. We shared everything. The small room. The little food. The long days. And the quiet nights. It wasn't perfect. But it was ours. Work stayed the same. Aisha still corrected me. Still watched every line I stitched. And I kept learning. Slowly. Carefully. That day started like every other day. Nothing special. No sign. No warning. Just work. Aisha asked me to step out. Just a small errand. Across the street. I didn't think twice. While I was gone, someone walked into the shop. Calm. Quiet. Like he didn't want attention. They said he looked around. Then stopped. At the necklace. The one my mother gave me. The one I had seen all my life. But never really questioned. He didn't say much. Just looked. Like he was remembering something. Then he left. I came back. Right after. They told me someone had been there. I didn't ask questions. Because at that moment, it didn't feel important. But that night, I held the necklace again. Longer than usual. Looking at it. Like I was seeing it for the first time. Mama. I said it quietly. Who gave you this? No answer. Just silence. I didn't know what had changed. Nothing looked different. Nothing felt loud. But something was no longer the same. I didn't meet him that day. He didn't call my name. I didn't see his face. But something passed between us, without either of us knowing. And that was the beginning of questions I couldn't ignore anymore. I didn't know someone had started looking for me. Not my name. Not my face. My life didn't change. I still woke up early. Still went to the shop. Still counted every small money I made. From the outside, everything looked the same. But somewhere in the same city, someone else was thinking. Not loudly. Not in a rush. Just carefully. He came back. I didn't notice at first, because customers come and go. But this time, he stayed a little longer. I was working, focused, trying to get my lines straight. And somewhere behind me, someone was watching. Not in a bad way. Just observing. Like he was trying to understand something. He asked about me. Not directly. Not in front of me. Just small questions. Does she work here? Is she new? Simple things. But questions, still. He didn't act like someone who was sure. More like someone who remembered something, but couldn't trust it yet. Back in my room, life was still the same. Busy complained. Zainab observed. And I listened. We laughed sometimes, even when things were not easy. One night, I called my grandmother. I didn't plan to ask anything serious, but the question came out anyway. Grandma, do you know anything about my father? She was quiet. Long enough for me to notice. Then she said something. Not much, but enough. She said, some men came to the village asking about your mother. That stayed with me. Why would anyone ask about her now? After all these years. Why now? I didn't have answers. But I couldn't ignore the feeling. Somewhere else, he was asking questions too. Careful ones. Quiet ones. The kind that don't make noise, but change everything. And then, he heard her name. My mother's name. Esther. That was the moment it became real. For him. Not for me. I didn't know anything yet. No names. No faces. But something inside me felt different. Like a door had opened. Somewhere I couldn't see. I was still living my life. Still working. Still trying to move forward. But somewhere, my story had started moving too. Without me. And I didn't know. It was already finding its way back to me. The day I met him, nothing special happened. No warning. No sign. Just a normal day. I was at the shop. Working. Trying to get my stitches right. Aisha was correcting me. Busy was talking. Zainab was watching everything quietly. It felt like any other day. Then the door opened. I didn't look up immediately. Customers come and go. But something made me pause. When I looked up, I saw him. Just a man. Standing there. Looking at me. Like he was trying to remember something. He asked my name. Simple. Direct. And I answered. That was the moment everything changed. He didn't rush. Didn't raise his voice. He just said, my mother. That word stopped everything. I stood up. Not angry. Not afraid. Just trying to understand. Then he said it. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just clearly. I am your father. And for a moment, I didn't feel anything. No tears. No shouting. Just space. Between me and him. He said he was sorry. Not once. More than once. He didn't try to defend himself. Didn't try to explain everything at once. Just, I am sorry. For not being there. For leaving. For coming late. And I asked him, calmly, where were you? When my mother was sick. When she died. He didn't interrupt me. He listened. He said, he left to build something. Thought he would come back quickly. Lost contact. Thought he still had time. But he didn't. And he didn't try to make it sound better. Then I showed him the necklace. The one my mother gave me. The one I never understood. He looked at it. And I saw it. Recognition. Not confusion. Not doubt. He knew it. I told him, I don't know you. And he didn't argue. I told him, I don't know if I can forgive you. And he accepted it. No pressure. No force. He didn't try to stay. Didn't try to take space that wasn't his. He just said, if you want answers, I will be here. Then he left. I stood there, holding the necklace, trying to understand what had just happened. I met him. The man my mother told me not to hate. And for the first time, I understood why. He didn't come once. He came again. And again. Not to force his way into my life. Just to stand there. And wait. The next time he came, I wasn't surprised. I looked at him. And he looked at me. Like we were both still trying to understand something. He said the same thing again. I am sorry. And this time, I listened differently. I asked myself, why would someone keep coming back when they are not wanted yet? Maybe because leaving once was enough. That night, I told Busy and Zainab. Busy didn't think too long. If it was me, I would forgive him. Zainab was quieter. Not forgive, just understand first. I sat between their voices, not choosing either one. I called my grandmother. I needed something. Something solid. She told me, some men came to the village asking about your mother. That changed something. Not everything, but something. I started thinking differently. Not just about what he did, but about what I didn't know. Who he was before he left. Why he didn't come back. What my mother felt. All those years. The third time he came, I didn't wait. I asked him everything. Not with anger, but with truth. Why didn't you come back? He didn't avoid it. He didn't change the story. He just said, I thought I had time. I asked him, did you know about me? He said no. I asked him, if you knew, would you have come? This time, he didn't hesitate. Yes. Then I asked him something else. Why didn't you marry? He looked at me. Not defensive. Not uncomfortable. Just honest. And he said, I never left her in my heart. That was the first time. I believed him. I didn't forget what happened. I didn't pretend it was okay. But I started to see something. Not just a man who left, but a man who also lost something. Busy smiled when I told her. I told you. Zainab just nodded. What matters is what you feel now. And for the first time, I knew. The next time I saw him, I didn't rush. I didn't pretend everything was fine. I just said, I don't understand everything. And I can't forget the past. But I don't want to keep treating you like a stranger. He didn't celebrate. Didn't move closer. Just nodded. Like he understood the weight of what I said. And maybe he did. I didn't forgive him in one moment. I didn't wake up one day and forget everything. I just stopped holding the distance. And let something new begin. Not a perfect ending. But a real one. I thought meeting him was going to be the hardest part. But it wasn't. The hardest part was what came after. Learning how to stand between two lives. After I told him we could start slowly. He didn't change overnight. He didn't start calling me every morning. Didn't suddenly act like he had always been there. He just stayed consistent. And I noticed that. Because I was watching him too. Carefully. Like someone holding something fragile. And not sure when it might break. One evening, after I finished work, he came by the shop. Not inside. Just outside. Waiting. When I came out, he said, "Would you like to come to my house sometime?" Not now. Not today. Just sometime. And somehow, that made it harder to answer. I didn't say yes. But I didn't say no. I just said, "I'll think about it." And I did. More than I expected to. Because it wasn't just about visiting a house. It felt like stepping into something I didn't understand yet. That night, I told Busy and Zainab. Busy didn't even sit down properly before reacting. "Busy. You mean you haven't gone already?" "No." "Busy. If it was me, I would go that same day." Zainab didn't laugh. She looked at me instead. "Zainab, what are you afraid of?" I didn't answer immediately. Because I didn't know. Until I said it. "I'm afraid. I won't recognize myself there." That was the first honest thing I said about it. A few days passed. Nothing changed on the outside. But inside, I kept thinking. About my mother. About the life she lived. About the life I was living. And the life he had built. Somewhere far from all of that. Then one day, I stopped thinking. And I went. The road to his house was quiet. Too quiet. Different from where I lived. No shouting. No crowd. No noise. Just space. When I got there, I stood at the gate for a moment. Not because I was lost. But because I needed a second. To prepare myself. He opened the door himself. Not a worker. Not anyone else. Him. "You came." "Yes." He stepped aside. And I walked in. Slowly. Not because I was afraid. But because everything felt unfamiliar. His house was not loud. Not decorated to impress. But everything was complete. Nothing broken. Nothing missing. Nothing out of place. And that's when it hit me. This was a life. Without struggle. Or at least, not the kind I knew. I thought about my room. The small space. The shared bed. The noise. The heat. And then I looked around again. Clean air. Quiet walls. Space to breathe. It didn't feel wrong. It just didn't feel like mine. We sat down. Not too close. Not too far. Just enough space. For two people still learning each other. "What do you do?" He didn't rush the answer. "I run businesses." That was all. No explanation. No list. No showing off. And somehow, that made it real. I looked around again. No pictures. No family frames. No signs of anyone else. Just him. You live here alone? Yes. No wife. He looked at me directly. No. Why? Because I didn't move on. And I understood. Not everything. But enough. He asked about her. My mother. Not like someone curious. Like someone remembering. What was she like? I didn't answer quickly. Because I wanted to get it right. She was quiet. She worked a lot. She didn't complain even when things were hard. He didn't interrupt. Didn't speak. He just listened. And in that silence, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Regret. Not in words, but in stillness. When I left his house, I didn't feel excitement. I didn't feel joy. I felt divided. Like I had stepped into something. And stepped back out again. But left a part of myself behind. Busy. So, tell me everything. It's big. Busy. I knew it. It's quiet. Zainab. And it doesn't feel like mine. Zainab nodded. Like she understood exactly what I meant. A few days later, he said something. Simple. But heavy. You don't have to struggle like this. I knew what he meant. Help. Comfort. Change. Fast change. But something in me didn't agree. I don't want everything to change at once. He didn't argue. So I continued. I didn't come this far to stop being who I am. I just want to grow from where I am. He nodded. Slowly. Like he understood that this was not rejection. That night, I stood outside again. The same city. The same lights. The same necklace in my hand. But everything felt different. I didn't choose his word. And I didn't leave mine. I just opened a door. And stood between both. And for the first time, I was choosing my life for myself. It didn't start as control. It started as care. The kind of care you don't question at first. Because it feels like something you missed. Something you needed. After I went to his house, I expected things to stay the same. Simple. Slow. But they didn't. Not in a loud way. Not in a way you could point at. Just small changes. He started calling more. Not too much. Just enough to notice. Have you eaten? Yes. How was work? Simple questions. Normal questions. But when they come every day, they begin to mean something else. At first, I thought he was just checking on me. But slowly, I started to feel something different. He wasn't just asking. He was observing me, my life, my choices. Like someone trying to understand a place before changing it. Then the offers started. Small ones. Easy ones. You don't have to take the bus every day. I can arrange a car for you. I looked at him. Not rejecting. Not accepting. Just thinking. I'm used to the bus. He didn't smile. He just said, you don't have to be used to it anymore. That was the first moment I felt the difference between us. That night, I sat busy looking at me. You're thinking too much again. I know. Busy. About him. About everything. Zainab didn't laugh. She just watched me. Like she always does. Then she said, be careful. Of what? Zainab. Of changing too fast. For reasons that are not yours. That stayed with me. A few days later, he came to the shop again. But this time, it felt different. Not like a visitor. Not like someone passing through. Like someone who had a place there now. She's doing well. Then he turned to me. You shouldn't stay here too long. I stopped walking. Looked at him. I'm still learning. You can learn better somewhere else. That was when it became clear. This wasn't just about helping me. This was about moving me. Later that evening, he said it more clearly. I can set you up. Your own place. Better training. Better opportunities. Everything he said made sense. Everything he said sounded right. But something in me didn't agree. And this place. He didn't answer immediately. Then he said, this is temporary. That word stayed in the air. Temporary. But this temporary place was where I learned how to stand again. Where I started rebuilding myself. Where I found people who stayed. So how could it be temporary? I told Busy and Zainab everything. Busy, excited. This is your chance. My chance for what? Busy. To live better. To stop struggling. Zainab didn't raise her voice. She just said, Zainab. Or to forget who you are. Busy. You always think too much. Zainab. And you don't think enough. They both turned to me. Waiting. But I wasn't ready. Not yet. I called my grandmother. Not because I needed answers. But because I needed clarity. Grandma, what would you do? She didn't answer quickly. She never does. Then she said, Grandmother, your life is not mine to live. But listen carefully. Help is good. But it should not take your voice. That stayed with me.